Blue glow of my phone screen lit up the kitchen table, and the notification on it made my stomach drop so hard I went completely quiet, like something inside me snapped and decided to watch instead of feel. My name is Lorelai. I am 32, and I work as a project manager for a medical billing company. I was standing barefoot on the cold tile, holding a mug of coffee I had already reheated twice, because I kept forgetting it existed. The notification was from a wedding website, not a random ad, not spam. A real invitation link, sent by someone who still had my number saved. The subject line was cheerful, almost cruel. Save the date. I did not tap it right away. I just stared at my own reflection in the black glass of the phone, the way you stare at a stranger in a window at night. My hair was up in a messy clip. My eyes looked tired in a way makeup never fixes. For a full minute, I listened to the refrigerator hum and the tiny ticking of the wall clock, as if I could pretend the world was normal if I stayed still enough. Then I heard the shower turn off in the bathroom down the hall. Wilder, my boyfriend, started dating me a few months after I finally ended the relationship that had taken almost a decade of my life. Wilder was gentle in a way that still surprised me. The first time he stayed over, he brought extra toothbrushes like it was no big deal, like he had planned for a future without asking permission from fear. We had been together long enough for my apartment to smell like his soap sometimes, long enough for his shoes to appear by my door, long enough for me to forget some mornings that I used to hold my breath while checking my phone. I set the mug down, my hands were shaking. The name on the invitation preview was the name I had spent years trying to make small in my mind. Hayes, my ex, and the message underneath it, the part that made my throat close up, was a single line from a mutual acquaintance I had not spoken to in forever. Thought you should know. That was it. No comfort, no explanation, just a match tossed into a room full of gas. I did not tell Wilder right away. I knew if I said it out loud, it would become real in a way I could not control. So I did what I used to do during that relationship. I swallowed it. I made my face calm. I made my voice normal. Wilder walked into the kitchen with damp hair and a towel around his shoulders. He leaned down and kissed my forehead, then glanced at the microwave clock like he always did, the little habit that made him feel steady to me. You okay? He asked. I smiled too quickly. Just work stuff. He nodded, accepting it, because he was the kind of man who did not treat my privacy like a challenge. He poured himself coffee, then started talking about a client call he had later. I heard the words. I even nodded at the right moments, but my chest felt hollow, like someone had scooped me out and left the shell standing. When he left, I stared at my phone again. I tapped the link. A polished web page loaded. Soft colors, elegant fonts, a photo banner of a smiling couple. The kind of picture people post when they want the world to clap for them. I scrolled before I even realized I was doing it. Hayes looked older. Not necessarily in a bad way, just settled. Like a man who had finally decided what he wanted, and it was not me. The woman beside him had glossy hair and a bright smile. Her name was Sloane. I knew nothing about her except that her face was now attached to a future Hayes once told me he did not believe in. My throat tightened. Not because I wanted him back. That part of me had already been starved, insulted, and trained to die quietly. What hurt was something uglier. Something I hated admitting. It was the question that came like a whisper behind my ribs. Why her? I did not even like Hayes when I left him. I left because I had finally seen my own life from the outside and realized I looked like someone waiting at a locked door, still holding flowers that had already wilted. Hayes used to talk about marriage like it was a scam. He said it with that smug half smile, the one that made you feel childish for wanting normal things. He said people only got married because they were insecure. He said a ring did not change anything. He said he did not want society's rules. But what he really meant was that he did not want to be accountable. He made plenty of money, far more than I did, yet he insisted everything be split down the middle. He kept a spreadsheet like love was a business expense. If we went out for dinner, he would text me the total before I even got home. If I forgot to send my half quickly enough, he would go cold the next day, not yelling. Hayes did not waste energy yelling. He punished with silence, with distance, with the quiet message that I was always one mistake away from being replaced. I told myself for years that this was fair, that this was modern, that this made me strong. But the truth was, I was paying for the privilege of being tolerated. When Wilder first took me out, I offered to cover my part automatically. It was muscle memory. I did it with a smile that felt normal to me. He blinked and said, "No, I asked you. I wanted to take you." I remember how my face burned, like I had been caught doing something shameful. I remember how I apologized, as if kindness was something I had to earn. Wilder never made me feel stupid for it. He just kept showing me a different world, one where love did not keep receipts. So why was I standing in my kitchen now, heart racing, scrolling through Hayes' wedding page like it had a hook in my skin? Because the pain was not romantic. It was mathematical. I gave him years. I gave him my youth, my patience, my softness. I gave him the version of myself that believed loyalty could turn neglect into devotion. And now he was giving someone else the thing he told me was impossible. It felt like watching someone hand out an umbrella right after you drowned. I scrolled down to the section where they listed their story, a cute little paragraph about how they met, how it was unexpected, how love showed up when they least expected it. I read it twice, then a third time. Like if I stared hard enough, I would find a hidden message that made it make sense. Then I did something I am not proud of. I went to Hayes' social media. I had not looked at it in over a year. I had blocked him for months after the breakup, then unblocked him when I thought I was healed, because part of me wanted to prove I could be normal about it. My thumb hovered over his profile picture, tapped out. His timeline was full of things I never got. Trips, holiday photos, cozy captions, their hands intertwined on a beach, their faces pressed close in a cabin, a photo of moving boxes with a caption about starting a home. Together. Home. That word hit me like a slap. Hayes and I never lived together. Not once. We stayed at each other's places occasionally, but he always called it sleeping over. Like moving in was a trap he had to avoid. If I brought it up, he would accuse me of rushing. He would say I was trying to pressure him. He would say I was being dramatic. Meanwhile, he was living with her. I sat down hard in the chair and covered my mouth with my hand, not because I was going to cry, but because I did not trust what sound might come out of me if I let myself breathe. My phone buzzed again. A text from my friend Arden. She was one of the few people who had witnessed enough to know I was not exaggerating when I said Hayes slowly erased me. Arden wrote, "Please do not spiral. I heard through my cousin. That is how I found out. I wanted you to hear it from someone who loves you, not a random post." I stared at her words and something inside me cracked. Not loud, but deep. I typed back, "I am fine." It was a lie so familiar it tasted like metal. Arden called immediately. I did not answer, because if I answered, I would have to admit I was not fine. I would have to admit the sadness was not just sadness. It was humiliation. It was rage. It was grief for a version of my life I wasted trying to convince someone to choose me. I went back to the wedding page. I clicked on the registry. I clicked on the venue. I clicked on the date. The date was soon. Soon enough that my brain started doing cruel calculations. Soon enough that I could picture the timeline. Soon enough that I could imagine Hayes proposing in the way he never did for me. And I could almost hear his voice saying something romantic, something sincere, something he never bothered to practice when it was my heart on the line. My chest hurt. Then another buzz. This time it was not a friend. It was an unknown number. The message read, "Hi Lorelai. This is Hayes' mom. Please call me when you have a minute." For a second, the room tilted. Hayes' mother and I used to be close, not in a fake way. She invited me to family dinners. She asked about my job. She told me once that she hoped Hayes would not be foolish and lose a good woman. After the breakup, she never reached out. I assumed Hayes told her I was the problem. He was good at rewriting reality. He did it with such calm confidence that you started doubting your own memories. I stared at the message until my eyes blurred. Why now? My thumb hovered over the call button, but I did not press it because I knew Hayes' mother did not text just to chat. She texted when something mattered, when there was something she wanted, when there was something she needed. And the fact that she was reaching out right before his wedding made my skin crawl. My mind started racing through possibilities. Was she inviting me? Was she warning me? Was she trying to clean up something Hayes left behind? The way people rush to hide stains before guests arrive? My phone vibrated again, and this time it was Wilder. He had sent a simple message. Just landed at the office. Hope your day is easy. I stared at his text, the normal sweetness of it, and guilt rose in my throat like bile. Wilder deserved a version of me that was fully present. Not a woman sitting in her kitchen, obsessing over the man who taught her to feel small. I typed back, "You too. Love you." I meant it. That was the terrifying part. I meant it. And yet my hands were still shaking because of another man's wedding announcement. I stood up and paced the apartment like an animal trapped in a too small cage. Then my laptop pinged with a new email. Subject line, "Final notice, outstanding balance." I frowned. It was from a rental management company. My stomach went cold all over again because I recognized the address. It was the last building Hayes and I almost moved into together. Almost. We toured it. We filled out forms. We talked about it late at night when he was in a good mood and pretending he wanted a future. He told me, "Let's apply." Just in case. I had paid the application fee. I had put my name on paperwork. I had given them my information. Hayes said he would handle the rest. Then he stalled. He delayed. He said he was not sure. He said he needed more time. He said I was being pushy again. Eventually the whole thing fell apart and I never thought about it again. Until now. The email had my name on it. Not Hayes's. Mine. I opened it with trembling fingers and my eyes scanned the words too quickly, trying to outrun the fear. The balance was for damages. Damages to an apartment unit. Unit I never lived in. A unit that apparently had been occupied. My mouth went dry. I clicked the attached document. My hands were so unsteady the cursor slipped twice. When the file opened, I saw my name on the lease and Hayes' signature. Underneath it, my vision narrowed. My ears started ringing. I could not even hear the refrigerator anymore. I sat down slowly, like if I moved too fast I might shatter. There was no way. There was no way Hayes could have done this without me knowing. Unless he had. Unless that just-in-case application was never a just-in-case. Unless he used my information the way he used everything else from me. Quietly, conveniently, without asking. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Hayes' mom. "Please call me. It is urgent." My fingers hovered over the screen. My whole body felt hot, then cold, then hot again. I did not cry. I did not scream. I did what Hayes taught me to do, accidentally, by being the kind of man who always underestimated quiet women. I got calm. I opened a folder on my laptop. I made a new file. I started saving screenshots, email timestamps, documents, every line of proof. Then I texted Hayes' mom back. "I can talk. Tell me what this is about." And before she could answer, my doorbell rang. I froze. No one should have been there. I stood very still listening. The bell rang again, longer this time, like the person outside was impatient. I walked to the door silently and looked through the peephole, and the person standing there was holding a small gift bag with tissue paper, smiling like they belonged in my life. It was Sloan. I did not open the door right away. I pressed my palm against the wood, feeling the vibration of my own pulse, and I forced my face into something neutral. My brain was screaming, but my body went oddly still, like it had flipped into survival mode. The doorbell rang again. I took one slow breath, unlocked the chain, then opened the door only a few inches. Sloan stood there in a cream coat, cheeks pink from the cold, holding a small gift bag like she was dropping off a candle to a neighbor. Her smile was polite, rehearsed. Her eyes were bright in that way people get when they have been crying and then decided they would rather be pretty than honest. "Lorelai?" she asked, as if she needed confirmation even though she was staring at my face. I did not answer immediately. I just watched her, because the question that had been gnawing at me all morning suddenly had a real body standing in my doorway. The woman Hayes was choosing. The woman who had not spent years begging for the bare minimum. The woman who somehow got the version of him I was told did not exist. "Yes," I said finally, quiet and flat. Her shoulders loosened, like she had been bracing for something worse. "Thank you for opening. I know this is weird. I promise I am not here to start drama." The word drama made my stomach twist, because I had spent years being accused of it whenever I asked for normal human respect. I kept my hand on the door. "Then why are you here?" She swallowed. Her gaze flicked past me into my apartment, like she was trying to measure who I was by what I owned. Then her eyes came back to mine softer. "I did not want to come," she said. I tried to tell Hayes this was a bad idea. My jaw tightened at his name. Hearing it out loud in my home felt like someone dragging mud across a clean floor. I said nothing. Sloan shifted the gift bag to her other hand. "He told me you might be emotional, but you do not look emotional." That almost made me laugh. Almost. Instead, I felt anger rise, slow and hot, because even now, even through her, he was still trying to control the story of me. I opened the door wider, not because I wanted her in my space, but because I wanted to see her clearly. I wanted to read her face without the peephole glass distorting it. "Come in," I said. Her eyebrows lifted in surprise, like she expected me to slam the door and cry on the other side. She stepped inside carefully, as if she was walking into a room with a sleeping dog. The gift bag rustled as she set it on the edge of my kitchen counter. Tissue paper peeked out. I hated the normalness of it. I hated how a wedding could be wrapped like a present while my name was attached to someone else's damage bill. Sloan turned to face me. Up close, she looked younger than the photos. Not childish, but new. New to this kind of pain. New to the specific flavor of manipulation Hayes used, where everything sounded reasonable until you realized you were always the one losing. "I am going to say this fast, she said, voice trembling just slightly. Hayes told me you have been contacting people, looking into things. He said you might try to ruin the wedding. My fingers curled at my sides. I did not even know you existed until this morning. She blinked. What? I watched her face shift, confusion first, then uncertainty, then a small flash of fear she tried to cover with another smile. I stepped closer to the counter and picked up my phone, not to threaten her, but to ground myself in something solid. Sloan, I said steady, why are you really here? Her lips parted, then closed. She looked down at her hands, twisting her ringless fingers together. He told me to bring you something, she admitted. I glanced at the gift bag. What is it? She hesitated, then pulled the tissue paper apart and reached inside. She lifted out a white envelope. My stomach sank. A white envelope, crisp and thick, the kind that holds documents. She held it out to me with both hands like an offering. I did not take it right away. What is that? I asked again, slower. Sloan's eyes filled. He said it is a settlement. He said you would sign it and agree not to contact anyone connected to the wedding. He said you would stop whatever you are doing. My throat went tight. A settlement. That word hit different than wedding photos, because you do not offer a settlement unless you know you did something that could cost you. I reached for the envelope and took it. Careful, like it might bite. I flipped it over. There was no return address. Just my name typed neatly on the front. I did not open it yet. Instead, I looked at her. Did Hayes tell you why I would need a settlement? Sloan wiped at a tear quickly, embarrassed by it. He said you are bitter. He said you are trying to punish him because he moved on. He said you cannot stand seeing him happy. My chest rose and fell slowly. I felt the old urge to defend myself, to explain, to prove I was sane. That urge had kept me trapped for years. I let it die. I nodded once. Okay. Sloan looked startled by how calm I was. That is it? I set the envelope on the counter without opening it. That is it. She stared at me like she was waiting for the explosion. When it did not come, her expression cracked a little, revealing something underneath. You really did not know, she whispered. I tilted my head. Know what? Her eyes darted toward the door, as if she suddenly realized she had walked into something bigger than a jealous ex situation. She lowered her voice. Hayes said you and him still talk. He said you have been trying to get him back. He said you keep bringing up old things like you want to trap him into fixing your life. The rage that rose in me this time was sharp, not hot, clean, like a blade. I inhaled, then said quietly, I blocked him after we broke up. He has not been in my life. Not until your wedding announcement and this bill showed up. Her face went pale. Bill? I opened my laptop, turned it toward her, and pulled up the email from the rental management company. I did not add commentary. I did not accuse. I just let the facts sit there like a weight. Sloan leaned in to read. Her eyes moved across the screen, then widened. That is your name, she said, voice shaking. Yes. And his signature, she whispered. Yes. She straightened slowly. Her mouth opened, then closed, like she was trying to form words but could not decide which truth to pick first. He told me he lived there for a little while, she said, before we moved in together. He said it was temporary. I felt something cold settle in my spine. You live with him now? Sloan nodded, almost ashamed. Yes, he wanted it fast. He said he was tired of wasting time. Of course he did. I watched her blink rapidly, trying not to cry again, and a different kind of anger rose in me. Not just at Hayes, at the pattern, at how men like him always move forward by leaving emotional wreckage behind. I kept my voice even. Did you ever sign anything with him? Lease paperwork? Loan paperwork? Anything with your name on it? Sloan hesitated. There is a joint account for wedding expenses. My stomach tightened. Do you have access to it? She nodded again. Yes, but he controls most of it. He says I am bad with money. There it was, the familiar line, the insult disguised as concern. Sloan's hand shook as she picked at a thread on her coat. I thought he was just stressed. Wedding planning, work, life. He told me his ex was unstable and that I had to be careful. I met her gaze. If you were in my shoes, would you feel stable? That made her flinch because she knew. She knew her own fear was already growing. She sat down at my kitchen table without asking. Like her knees gave out. The chair scraped softly against tile. I did not want to meet you like this, she said, voice small. I leaned against the counter, arms relaxed, because I needed my body to look calm even if my heart was pounding. Then why did you come? I asked. She stared at the envelope like it was poison. Because his mother told me to. My head snapped up. His mother? Sloan nodded quickly. She called me this morning and said I needed to bring you that envelope. She said Hayes is hiding something and that you might be the one person who can stop him from ruining more lives. My phone buzzed again, right on cue, like the universe was staging this. Hayes' mom. Another message. I am begging you. Do not sign anything. Please call me. Sloan saw my screen light up and her face crumpled. You are getting messages from her too, she whispered. I stared at the phone, then at Sloan, then back at the envelope. My body wanted to shake. My mind wanted to scream. But I felt something else pushing up through the fear. Clarity. Because the story Hayes had been telling everyone was already falling apart in my kitchen. I picked up the envelope and opened it slowly. Inside was a printed agreement. It was written in formal language, full of phrases meant to sound fair. It offered me money in exchange for silence. It also included a line that made my stomach flip. It stated that I acknowledged the lease situation was a misunderstanding and that I released Hayes from any responsibility connected to it. I looked up at Sloan. She looked horrified. He is trying to make you take the blame. I tapped the paper with my finger. He wants me to sign that I am the problem. Again, my voice stayed calm, but my hands trembled slightly as I folded the pages back into the envelope. Sloan leaned forward, elbows on the table, and suddenly she looked younger than ever. He told me you were going to show up at the venue, she whispered. He told me you might embarrass me in front of my friends. He said if that happened, I should not react. I should just walk away. He said you would look crazy if I stayed calm. I almost smiled at that because it was such a perfect description of how he operated. He baited you, then watched you drown. I nodded once. He wanted you to be the calm one so I would be the villain. Tears spilled down Sloan's cheeks. She wiped them, furious at herself for crying. I do not know what is real anymore. I stood there, breathing slowly, and I felt something shift inside me. This was the moment, the one I used to miss. The one where Hayes would tighten the ropes and I would panic and start pleading. Not this time. I walked to my laptop and opened a new email draft. I started typing with steady fingers. What are you doing? Sloan asked, voice trembling. I am responding to the rental company, I said. I am asking for the full lease file, all communication, and proof of move-in. I am also asking for security footage from the building entrance if they have it. Sloan stared at me. Can you do that? I can ask, I said. And if they refuse, I can request it through a lawyer. Her breath hitched. A lawyer? I turned to face her fully. I am not signing anything. I am not yelling. I am not showing up anywhere. I am just collecting truth. Sloan swallowed hard. Hayes will lose his mind. I kept my tone flat. He can lose it quietly. Not in my life. A sudden knock hit my door. Not the bell. A knock, heavy, insistent, like someone who believed they had authority. Sloane's head snapped toward the sound. Her face drained of color. That is him, she whispered. The knocking came again, harder. I did not move. I did not rush to hide anything. I simply walked to the door, checked the peephole, and felt my stomach turn. Hayes was standing there, and behind him, slightly to the side, was a uniformed police officer. Hold up, small pause. I am human, and editing these can get lonely. Your comments are my proof that these stories reach real people. Like, subscribe, and comment where you are watching from. Alright, back to it. Alright, now let me take you back into that exact second, because the way my body reacted shocked even me. My first instinct was not fear. It was shame. That old trained shame, the one Hayes installed in me like a program. The feeling that if a police officer was at my door, I must have done something wrong. My chest tightened, and for a split second, I almost stepped backward, like I was a child about to be scolded. Then I remembered the email, the lease, the settlement, the lie Sloane just admitted she had been fed, and the shame turned into steel. I did not open the door right away. I spoke through it. Yes, my voice came out steady. Hayes's voice followed, smooth and confident like he was in charge. Lorelai, open the door. We need to handle this like adults. The police officer's voice cut in, professional. Ma'am, we just need to ask you a few questions. Sloane stood up so fast her chair nearly tipped. She looked at me, eyes wide, silently begging me to do something, anything to stop this. I kept my hand off the lock. What is this about? I asked through the door. Hayes answered quickly, too quickly. You have been harassing us, showing up online, digging into private information. My fiancé is scared. This needs to stop. I almost laughed, almost, because he said it so cleanly, so convincingly. If I had not just watched Sloane's tears hit my kitchen table, I might have doubted myself. I looked at Sloane, and she shook her head, small and frantic, like she was watching a train approach. I took one slow breath and spoke to the officer again, careful with every word. I have not contacted Hayes or his fiancé. I have not shown up anywhere. I received an email today about a lease that appears to have my name on it. I am currently gathering documentation. If you want to speak, I will, but I will not open my door until I know why you are here. There was a pause. Then the officer said, Ma'am, do you have any proof of that email? Yes, I said. I can show it through the window, or I can email it to you if you give me an address. Hayes's voice snapped, the calm cracking. Do not play games. I felt my heart pound, but my voice stayed even. I am not playing. I am protecting myself. Another pause. Then the officer said, Ma'am, I am going to ask him to step back. One moment. I heard muffled voices outside, and then a shift, like bodies moving. Hayes protested in low, irritated tones. Sloane's hands were shaking. He told them you were stalking us, she whispered. I nodded, eyes on the peephole. Of course he did. The officer's voice came again, closer to the door and quieter. Ma'am, I am speaking to you directly now. I am not here to arrest you. I was told there was harassment. If you have documentation showing you may be a victim of identity misuse, that changes things. Do you understand? Yes, I said, still through the door. Do you feel safe right now? The officer asked. I looked at Sloane, then at my phone, then at the envelope on my counter. No, I said honestly. Not with him standing outside. The officer exhaled like he had heard this story before. All right, I am going to ask him to leave the property. If he refuses, I will address it. Hayes's voice rose, sharper now, losing control. This is ridiculous. She is lying. She is trying to sabotage my wedding. My stomach clenched at the word wedding again, but I did not let it show. I said, louder now, so the officer could hear me clearly. Officer, I would like to file a report about the lease issue. I also have a document here that he sent, asking me to sign away his responsibility. If you can provide me a case number, I will attach everything. Silence. Then the officer said, understood. Hayes cursed under his breath. It was not loud enough to be clear, but it was loud enough to be ugly. I did not open the door. I did not argue. I simply waited. A minute later, the officer knocked again, gentler. Ma'am, he said, he is leaving. I recommend you do not engage with him directly. If you would like to file a report, you can do it online or at the station. If you have a copy of that lease and the settlement document, keep them. I felt my lungs finally pull in a full breath. Thank you, I said. Sloane covered her mouth with her hand, eyes shining with panic. Outside, I heard Hayes's footsteps, heavy and angry, moving away. Then, just before the sound disappeared, Hayes spoke not to the officer, but toward my door, toward me. You think this will help you? He said, voice low and venomous. You are still the same. You always needed attention. My hand curled into a fist at my side, but I did not respond. Silence was my revenge. Silence was my proof. When the hallway finally went quiet, Sloane let out a broken sob. He brought a cop, she whispered. He brought a cop to your door. I stared at the envelope on my counter, then at the email on my laptop, then at Sloane's trembling hands. I felt anger, yes, but I also felt something else. Relief, because Hayes just made a mistake. He involved an authority figure while I had documentation in my hands. He created a record. He brought a witness to the moment he tried to control the narrative. I walked to my phone, opened my notes, and wrote down every detail while it was fresh. The time, the words, the sequence. Then I saved copies of everything to a cloud folder and emailed them to myself. Sloane watched me like she was seeing a different kind of woman than the one Hayes described. What are you going to do? She asked, voice small. I looked at her, and for the first time, I felt no jealousy, only a quiet certainty. I am going to let him keep talking, I said, and I am going to keep collecting. Sloane swallowed. He is going to come back. I shook my head once. Not if I do this right. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail notification from Hayes. I stared at the screen, then hit play on speaker, because if he was foolish enough to put something in writing, I wanted Sloane to hear it too. His voice filled my kitchen, smooth at first, then tightening with irritation. Lorelai, you need to stop. You are not going to ruin this for me. If you do not sign that paper, I will make sure everyone knows what you are. You hear me? I will tell them everything. Sloane's face went white because there was nothing in his voice that sounded like a man defending himself. It sounded like a man threatening someone he thought he still owned. Ended the voicemail and looked straight at Sloane. She stared back, trembling. Then she whispered, he said the same thing to his last girlfriend, the one before you. He told me she was crazy too. My stomach dropped because that meant I was not an exception. I was part of a pattern, and patterns are easier to prove than feelings. Sloane's whisper hung in the air, and it did something strange to me. It did not make me feel less hurt. It made me feel clean. Like I finally had permission to stop wondering what I did wrong, because the truth was, he did this to anyone who got close enough to be useful. I pulled a chair out and sat across from her, keeping my voice steady. Do you have any proof of what you just said? She blinked, and more tears rolled down. I have messages. I have voice notes. He said she was unstable. He said she tried to trap him. He said she wanted his money. I nodded slowly, like I was listening to a business report. Can you forward those to yourself right now before he deletes anything? Sloane hesitated, then grabbed her phone with shaking hands. hands. She opened her message threads, and I watched her face shift as she scrolled. There it was, that tiny flinch over and over. The moment a person realizes the words that once felt romantic now read like control. Her fingers moved fast. She emailed screenshots to herself, then to me when I gave her my address. She also saved the voice notes to a cloud folder, muttering under her breath that she should have done this sooner. I feel stupid, she said. I kept my tone gentle. Do not. People like him do not catch idiots. They catch hopeful people. That made her cry harder but quieter, like she was trying to keep her grief from being loud enough to bring him back. My phone rang. Hayes' mother. I answered this time. Lorelai, she said immediately. Her voice strained and low, like she was speaking from a locked room. Thank God. Are you safe? I am, I said. Sloan is here. There was a pause that felt heavy. She came to you. Good. Listen to me carefully. Do not sign anything. Do not speak to Hayes alone. And please file a report. I am going to, I said, and I surprised myself by how calm I sounded. Tell me what you know. She exhaled shakily. He used your name for that lease. I found out last night when I was looking through his old mail. I was trying to help with wedding paperwork, and I saw something I should not have seen. A notice. He tried to hide it, but I have known my son my whole life. When he hides, it is because he has done something he cannot talk his way out of. Sloan pressed a hand over her mouth, listening. Hayes' mother continued, voice trembling with anger. He did it before. Not the lease exactly, but the same kind of thing. When he was younger, he put a utility account in his father's name without asking. He ruined his father's credit for years. We fixed it privately. We covered it. We thought he learned. My stomach clenched. So you helped him? I did, she said, and there was grief in it. And I regret it. I regret it every day. I am calling you now because I will not do it again. If he marries her, he will ruin her. If you stay silent, he will keep doing this to someone else after her. I cannot watch that. My throat tightened. I looked at Sloan, who had gone pale, her eyes fixed on my phone like it was a weapon. I am not staying silent, I said. I am collecting proof. Good, Hayes' mother whispered. I am also sending you something. My phone pinged with a new message as she said it. An image. A photograph of a document. It was a letter dated months ago, addressed to Hayes. A warning about collections. Another account. Another name. Not mine. A man's name from his past. And in the corner, a small note in handwriting I recognized. Hayes, casual and cruel. Handle it later. My stomach turned. Hayes' mother spoke again, voice raw. Lorelai, I'm sorry. I believed him too many times, but I am done. I will testify. I will tell the truth. I do not care what it does to our family image. I swallowed hard. Thank you. When I hung up, Sloan stared at me like she was waiting for me to slap her with the truth. What did she send? She asked. I turned my phone toward her. Sloan read the document and her face fell apart. Not dramatic, not loud. It was more like her body simply stopped holding itself up from the inside. He told me he hated debt, she whispered. I nodded. He hates being responsible for it. Sloan's voice came out thin. He said he was so careful. He said he was building a future. I kept my voice low. He was, just not with honesty. Sloan stood up abruptly and started pacing my kitchen, hands gripping her hair. I cannot marry him, she said, voice breaking. I cannot. I did not comfort her with false softness. I did not tell her everything would be okay. I gave her something better, a plan. You do not have to decide the whole rest of your life in 1 hour, I said. But you need to protect yourself today? Sloan stopped pacing and looked at me. How? I pointed to her phone. First, remove his access to anything tied to your identity. Accounts, passwords, shared documents. Second, do not warn him. Do not threaten him. Just quietly secure your side. Third, talk to a lawyer before you confront him. You need to know what you can say without putting yourself at risk. Her breathing was quick. He will notice. Let him notice later, I said. Not now. Sloan nodded, wiping her cheeks with the back of her hand like she was angry at herself for having a face that leaked. Then my front door opened. Wilder's voice carried down the hallway. Lorelai, you left your laptop open and I saw a bunch of emails. Are you okay? My heart jumped. I had not even heard him come in. He must have left work early. He stepped into the kitchen, took one look at Sloan's tear-streaked face, then looked at me. His eyes sharpened instantly, protective and calm. What happened? He asked quietly. I took a breath. Hayes is trying to pin a lease on me. He showed up with a police officer, and she is his fiancée. Wilder's gaze flicked to Sloan, then back to me. He did not ask why. He did not accuse. He just nodded, like he understood one thing clearly. This was serious. He pulled out his phone. Do you want me to call someone? A lawyer? The non-emergency line? I felt my chest loosen with relief. This was what safety looked like. Not loud heroics, just steady support. Yes, I said. Non-emergency line first. I want a report. Wilder nodded once and stepped into the other room to make the call. Sloan's eyes filled again, but this time with something different. Not just fear, envy maybe, or realization. She stared at the doorway where Wilder disappeared. He believes you, she whispered. I kept my voice soft because he is not invested in making me the villain. Within an hour, I had a case number. I had emailed the rental company requesting full records. I had saved Hayes' voicemail and forwarded it to myself. Wilder helped me organize everything into a folder with dates and descriptions. Not because I asked, but because he understood that messy emotions need tidy evidence. Sloan sat at my table, tapping her foot, eyes darting to her phone. Every time it buzzed, her screen lit up with Hayes' name over and over. Calls, messages, video requests. She did not answer. She looked at me with a trembling mouth. He is going to come here. Wilder returned to the kitchen holding his keys. If he does, we do not open the door, and we document everything. Sloan stared at him like she had never seen a man stay calm under pressure without turning cruel. Her phone buzzed again, and she flinched. A text message preview flashed across her lock screen. It was from Hayes. It read, if you are with her, you are making a mistake. She will poison you. Sloan's face went blank. Then she unlocked her phone, opened the message thread, and her fingers moved with a new steadiness. She forwarded the message to herself, then to me. Then she did something I did not expect. She opened her bank app and removed the joint account access. Quietly, efficiently, no announcements. She looked up at me, voice flat and clear. He always said I was too emotional to handle anything important. I nodded. They say that so you stop trusting your own hands. Sloan swallowed. I want to do one more thing. Wilder glanced at her. What? She looked at me, eyes intense. The wedding planner? She is the one person who can stop the whole show without Hayes controlling the story. If I say it is on hold, it is on hold. My stomach tightened. Do you want me involved in that? Sloan shook her head quickly. No, not you. He would twist it. I will do it. I will keep you out of it. That was the first smart boundary I had ever seen her make, and it told me she was waking up. She made the call right there at my table, with Wilder and me as silent witnesses, not interfering, just present. Her voice shook at first, then it steadied. Yes, I need to put everything on hold immediately. No, I cannot explain on the phone. Yes, it is my decision. I will follow up in writing. When she hung up, she exhaled as if she had been holding her breath for months. Then her phone rang again. Hayes. Sloan stared at the screen, hand hovering. She looked at me like she was asking permission to be brave. I nodded once. Sloan answered, put him on speaker, and kept her face still. Hayes' voice filled my kitchen, charming and sharp at the same time. Where are you? Sloan's voice was quiet. Somewhere safe? His tone changed instantly, turning cold. Are you with her? Sloan paused, then said, yes. Hayes laughed, a short sound with no warmth. Of course. She is doing what she always did, making everything about her. Sloan's hands trembled, but her voice stayed even. Hayes, why is my name not on the lease you used before me? There was a silence, a small one, but it was enough, because in that silence, his confidence tripped. Just for a moment. What are you talking about? He said. Sloan did not argue. She did not accuse. She just asked another question, soft and simple. Why is Lorelai receiving damage notices for a unit she never lived in? Hayes' voice sharpened. She is lying. Sloan inhaled, steady. I saw the document. Another pause. Then his voice dropped. Dangerous now. Give me the phone. Sloan's eyes filled, but she did not break. No. His tone turned into a hiss. You do not understand what you are doing. Sloan's voice stayed calm. I do. I am removing myself from it. Hayes let out a breath like a growl. If you cancel the wedding, you will regret it. Sloan blinked hard, then said the sentence that ended him without a fight. I already did. She hung up. Wilder and I said nothing. We let the quiet fill the room, because that quiet was her taking her power back. 2 days later, I sat in a small law office with a woman named Greer, a civil attorney with kind eyes and a voice that never rushed. Wilder came with me. He did not speak unless asked. He just sat close enough that my body remembered it, was allowed to relax. Greer reviewed the lease, the emails, the voicemail, and Hayes' settlement document. Her eyebrows lifted slightly, the only sign of emotion she showed. This is not a misunderstanding, she said calmly. This is misuse of identity, potentially fraud. My throat tightened. Can he really get in trouble for this? Greer's gaze stayed on the papers. If the evidence supports it, yes. And you have more documentation than most people bring in. I felt a wave of relief so strong it almost made me dizzy. Greer continued. The settlement letter is also interesting. It shows consciousness of wrongdoing. He's trying to buy silence. Wilder's jaw tightened, but he stayed quiet. Greer looked at me. Do you want to pursue this fully? I thought about the years I spent being small so Hayes would not punish me. I thought about the way I still flinched at certain tones. I thought about how easily he involved a police officer to intimidate me and how he expected me to fold. Then I thought about Sloan, sitting at my kitchen table, realizing she was not special to him, just new. Yes, I said. Fully. Greer nodded once. Good. Then we moved quietly and correctly. That night, I came home to Wilder's apartment, and Sloan was already there, sitting on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders. She looked exhausted, smaller, but not broken. She looked up at me. He showed up at our place, she said softly. He tried to talk his way back in. When I would not open the door, he sent messages to my friends saying I had a breakdown. My stomach tightened. What did you do? Sloan's mouth curved into the smallest, saddest smile. I sent my friends one screenshot. Just one, his own words. The part where he said he would destroy anyone who embarrassed him. Wilder exhaled slowly, impressed. Sloan looked at me. I did not expose him everywhere. I just showed the truth to the right person. My sister. Then my sister handled the rest. I felt my chest loosen. That was the silent revenge. Not screaming, not chaos. Just a single light turned on in a dark room. A week later, the rental company confirmed in writing that the unit had been occupied during the time Hayes claimed it was empty. They provided move-in records and maintenance logs. They also confirmed the email address used on the lease was Hayes's, not mine. The evidence lined up like dominoes. Greer filed the necessary paperwork. The police report became more than a number. It became a file with weight. Hayes's wedding did not happen. Not because I crashed anything. Not because I begged anyone to believe me. Not because I fought him in public. It did not happen because he finally ran into something he could not charm. Documentation. Sloan moved out quietly while he was at work. She left the ring on the counter with a note that said one sentence. No explanation, no emotion he could feed on. Do not contact me again. Later, I found out Hayes tried to tell people I manipulated her, that I plotted it, that I was obsessed, but it did not stick. Because his mother, the same woman who once covered for him, told the family the truth. And the final twist, the one that still makes my hands go cold when I think about it, came in an email from Greer. During the investigation, another name surfaced. Another lease. Another account. Not just mine. Hayes had been doing this for years. Like a habit, like a shortcut he felt entitled to. And this time, he could not talk his way out. The day Greer told me charges were moving forward, Wilder brought home takeout from my favorite place and set it on the table like it was a celebration. We did not have to announce. I sat across from him staring at the warm bag, and suddenly I started crying. Not loud, not messy. Just steady tears that felt like my body releasing something old. Wilder reached across the table and held my hand. You do not have to carry that anymore, he said softly. I nodded, wiping my face. I think I believed I deserved it. Wilder's eyes stayed on mine, steady as a promise. You never did. Months later, when everything was finalized and my name was cleared, Wilder and I sat on that same kitchen floor, eating pizza straight from the box. Like teenagers, because we were too tired to find plates. He looked at me and said, I want a future with you. No spreadsheets, no tests, just us. And for the first time in a long time, the word future did not feel like a trap. It felt like a door opening. Now I am going to step out of the story for a minute and talk to you like a real person. There is a certain kind of hurt that does not come from missing someone. It comes from realizing you were used to build someone else's confidence. It comes from watching them hand the next person everything they told you was impossible. And that messes with your head because you start thinking the problem was you. But it is not always about you. Sometimes it is about control. Sometimes it is about a person who needs someone to shrink so they can feel tall. They do not just break your heart, they break your sense of reality. That is why proof matters. Not for revenge that looks dramatic, for the quiet kind of revenge that heals you. You do not argue, you do not beg, you do not scream. You document, you breathe, you let the truth stand in the light. And when someone finally sees it, you stop feeling crazy. You start feeling free.